Hello, I'm Ben. Welcome to the channel. So today we're going to talk about what happened over the weekend. So right now it is the 15th of July, 2024. And over the weekend on the 13th, Saturday, Donald Trump, the leading presidential candidate for 2024, was giving a speech where an assassin actually took a shot at him. And had Trump not turned his head, the bullet came from behind him. And what the assassin had done is aimed center point at the back of his head, which is a pretty good way to end a situation. And right in the moment that that happened, Trump turned his head and the bullet went through his ear. Took his ear out. A good chunk out of it. And the unfortunate thing was two other people were injured. One gentleman was killed. A 50-year-old gentleman from there that was there attending with his family was killed. He was a retired fire chief, a hero in his own way, was killed. The assassin is a 20-year-old nothing that had climbed on top of a building. But here's the part that is the most annoying piece, or the most outraging piece if you think about it. Videos have now come out of people that were in attendance filming him on the roof and calling officers. There's a guy on the roof. There's a guy on the roof. Multiple people. There are dozens of videos now that have come up where people have identified this threat, called it forward to the police, told Secret Service, they were telling everyone there based on the videos. You can see in the videos, you can see it's the guy. It's the guy that's dead on top of the building later. So there's no doubt in the verification of who it is, time-stamped and everything. And I'm sure all this stuff will be sussed through and worked out. But here's the issue. Donald Trump's a former president, and his Secret Service detail, it was very obvious, contained several women at this site. There's been some comments about that around the number. He's not tonight is when they'll decide that. This week is when they'll decide if he is the true Republican candidate for presidency. At that point, the detail should increase. He should have more Secret Service people to have protection over his situation. But this was such a gigantic failure. Being a former bodyguard myself and understanding the importance of pre-work, in a video I saw, there's 13 buildings within a shooting range to that stage. Where this shooter was, though, was a building that was 130 meters away, which is 145 yards, okay? That is not a difficult shot by any way, shape, or form. So anyone in the military, anyone that's had hunting practice or hunting history in their background or that shoots guns regularly can tell you a 150-yard shot, 130-meter shot is not a difficult shot. Most people sight their weapons in at 100 yards, and 200 and 300 being the most average range that weapons are sighted into. 300 was the range that the weapons from World War II iron sights were set to, with the expectation that you could see that distance and hit that distance. This person was at half that distance, and just by the slightest measure did not make the shot, which would have killed this presidential candidate and former president of the United States. So here's a couple of things I want to say about this, and I'll let it be, because I know there's tons of this information out there right now, and I'm sure more things will come to the forefront here over the next few weeks. But being a former protective person in that business, here's the thing about threats. When you think there's a threat, you remove your person. You take that person you're protecting and you remove them from that situation. There doesn't have to actually be a perceived threat. But if the suggestion is there is a thought that there is a threat there, you then take the protective order and the action to remove that person from that threat. That's what you do. That's the standard operating procedure for all security teams that do this type of work, for politicians, for actors, for musicians, for whoever it may be that they do this type of work for. I'll say this about the political climate in America. This is third world nonsense, okay? The politics have gotten worse and worse, and the primary blame, we're dismissing it. We're not saying what it is. But, journalism used to be something that was real. And when I was a young man, you watched the news at night and they gave you facts. They didn't give you an opinion. They gave you facts. And you would take those facts and you make the best decisions based on what you knew to be the case from those facts. Now, all you're getting is noise. One side says this, the other side says that. Let me point out, there are no two sides. It's either one country or it's not. Division will cost America greatly. Here's why. Diversity works if we're unified. Diversity works if you're unified. If everyone is pulling the same chain, walking in the same direction with the same unified vision of what the future looks like, that is powerful and cannot be defeated. If all Americans are doing that, then you have a unified goal that everyone's striving to, and that is powerful. The next thing I would say is this. When in this country, in my point of view, everyone that's born here is an American. Okay? Where you came from doesn't matter because we all came from somewhere else. That's how it works. So when we start saying things that segregate people based on class or race, etc., or whatever you come up to, and have that as a separated group, what you're doing is you're causing division among the ranks. It's been said since Genghis Khan's time, what you do to beat those that are immensely strong is you divide and conquer. You take what is large and immovable and you separate it into small parts, and that's how you defeat it, right? That is the threat that America is currently under. We have a guy that's so old he can't finish his sentences. We have another guy that's so popular in the polls that people from one side are now voting for this person or polling that they're going to vote for this person, which was unseen by the opposition to this person, saying the Democrats are now going to vote for Trump, and typically that was a Republican situation. Here's the point. They're still politicians. You take the best politician and you're still in a bad situation, okay? But when you take somebody who's been in politics for as long as Joe Biden, 50 years. He was the youngest guy ever to be in Congress. He's got nothing done in that period of time. And he hasn't met with his inner council, his cabinet, in 9 months. You cannot run a country and not meet with your cabinet for 9 months. That means this cat's phoning the job in and someone else is making the decisions. No matter who you are as an American, the expectation should be if you're paying for a position that you should be getting what you're paying for. Right now, we're not getting what we're paying for. When it comes to journalism, there's no such thing anymore. All the stuff out there now is noise. Watch, if you want to really look into that, look at the headlines from Sunday. So this event, a former president and a presidential candidate, there was an attempted assassination attempt on that person, right? There was an assassination attempt. Look at the headlines for all the major newspapers on Sunday. It's pathetic. They downplayed an assassination attempt. It doesn't matter who the person is that someone attempts to assassinate, but it should be said in the news, truthfully, here's the facts, here's what it was, and they couldn't even get the title right. So if that doesn't tell you something's broken in America, nothing else will. I'll say this. I'm a Christian. I believe God's got his hand on things and he runs things. Nothing's going to happen that he doesn't allow or doesn't expect, right? Trump was supposed to survive that, and he did. I think beyond that, he's going to be our next president. I think that's clear. Democrats don't even want Biden to run anymore themselves. But think about how awful this weekend was, okay? You have, on Friday night, you have Joe Biden call his biggest ally that he sent tens of trillions of dollars to over the last few years by Putin's name. That's how out of reality that cat is. And then Saturday, you have Donald Trump on stage giving a speech in a small place, and a shooter is allowed to be within 130 yards of him, 150 yards of him, and people are calling it out and filming him and calling the police and saying, look, there's a guy on the roof, and nobody does anything. So if you think our political system right now is working as it should be, what expectations do you have of it? Okay, what expectations do you have of it? These aren't leaders. What's happening around these people, that's not leadership. To call this pitting back and forth and this stuff that's gotten to the point where people are saying that we should hurt this person or kill that person, that's not American politics. We vote for who we want to have elected. Is the expectation. Is that what's really happening? Who would pick Biden? Out of a row of 50 people, who would pick that guy? And Donald Trump, if he's so hated, why is there not a better candidate? That's what I'd ask you now. And think about Biden. Think about the unfortunate situation with his vice president. No one wants her in office at all. It is who else do we get to run instead of him if it's not going to be him. And it's no one's saying anything about her, even though she's occupied that position for 3 and some years now as vice president. She should be the next selective offering. She should be the one who we're suggesting be in that role. And she's not. And think about politicians, right? If it wasn't Donald Trump, who would we be voting for from a Republican side on as a presidential candidate? Who? That's the point. I think succession planning is what America's missing. We are focusing so much on the noise and so little on the quality that we're producing. That's our problem. If we have succession planning and we say, all right, these were our best 10 politicians on this side of the ball, and this is our best 10 on this side of the ball, and the first thing we look at is how well did they play together? Are they actually putting the country's interest in front of their own? We haven't been able to say yes to that for quite a long time. Okay? So, kind of extremely historic week this past week. Biden blundered awfully, and Trump survived an assassination attempt. I would never think that'd be something you'd say about a president and a presidential candidate in the United States of America. But that was just the last 5 days, right? So if you like information such as this, please subscribe. Please like the video. Here's the point. We need true journalism in America. We need to get that back. The noise has to go away, and we have to get the facts in front of people. We need to vote by what we truly believe in, not by talking points that people use to rally us up into a frenzy. And 3, we shouldn't be allowed to be rallied up into a frenzy. The expectation of voting people should be that you're mature and you understand, I want to create the best future for my children, my grandchildren, and my great-grandchildren. If you don't have kids, I want to create the best future for myself and for my family and for those that I care about. That's all that is. And if you're not doing that and you're allowing people to say this side is better than this side when it's 2 wings on the same bird, you're missing the whole point of America. The idea is diversity is strong as if it works together. If you're allowing yourself to be split apart, all that's happening there is other folks can look at that, capitalize, divide, and conquer. So wake up, America. This is a pretty extreme weekend. If you like stuff like this, please like, please subscribe. I'm Ben. Be good.